Welcome to Design Diary, the podcast where you get to look inside my board game design notebook as well as what's going on inside my head. We look at a new word each day from the sense of mechanics, tone, theme, or inspiration for a full game. Today's word is
Nimiety, excess or redundancy, which you pointed out as we talked last week that this is similar to slew that we did.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually one of the words that we had, but it's a little different, right?
Yeah. It's the other definition that I had was overabundance.
That's
where
cool.
It's just like stuff spilling over.
So spillover was the one word that I went with, and
oh really?
And just like I went with that was my word. I didn't even Nimiety wasn't my word anymore. It was spillover.
Yeah, exactly. I went with redundancy.
That's cool.
And what stood out to me is that in college I took a class called The Landscapes of Disaster. And it was just detailing all the different kinds of natural disasters that can happen, from landslides to meteor strikes to volcanoes, just all that kind of stuff.
That sounds like a fun class.
Just really good stuff for a person with anxiety. Just like, here, let's watch this video on the super volcano on how everyone will die if it goes off, and it's going to go off soon. So have fun with that. So they talk about the Swiss cheese model when in regards to things that can go wrong in systems that are designed to prevent disasters from happening.
Okay.
And so if you imagine every layer of a defense as a slice of Swiss cheese, so there's no single layer of defense that is perfect.
Yes.
And each hole is visualized as a weakness. And so imagine that you have a bunch of Swiss cheese slices lined up next to each other. It's possible that you can still see through 4 or 5 slices because the holes line up.
Wow, yeah.
And so that's when all the weaknesses of these systems, just perfect storm of conditions, no matter what, like it goes through all of them. And so I was thinking about specifically like Pandemic or other type of cooperative games where you're trying to plug all these holes. You have all these fingers in the Dutch seawall, and you're just trying to plug them all before disaster strikes. And so I'm imagining like literally almost Swiss cheese, where each of these defenses that you buy or place in are kind of stacked on top of each other, kind of like through a spool, I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
And you try and rotate and spin these Swiss cheese things so that you cannot see the board beneath, or whatever spaces you do see are not as bad as other spaces on the board.
That's cool. Yeah.
And so I imagine it would have to be a little bit more exciting than like try to prevent a landslide or anything like that. And you'd have to kind of distance yourself like Pandemic Iberia from like real world events in order for it to like to not just bum everyone out while playing.
So the one way you could do that is the clear cards. Like I always think of it like from the cheapest perspective. Like you could make these awesome plastic things that spin around a spool, but you could also the clear cards. One of the games, what is it called?
Is it Swish?
No, I'm thinking of the like CCG that used them.
Custom Heroes? I mean, that's not.
There was not the
CCG.
There was like a kids one.
CCG that had clear ones. That's pretty cool.
Yes, and it was Redikai. Was it Redikai? I think it's Redikai. I'm talking to myself here, but it had thick plastic clear cards that laid over top of each other, and sometimes it would add things, and sometimes it would just like cancel other things out. So you could have like all of the card covered with some really cool artwork and stuff, and then this one little section that you see through. But then like what you see through and what you see on the bottom is, that's awesome. I love clear cards.
Yeah, when is Button Shy going to get into clear cards? That'll be profitable, right?
Well, I looked into it and I found a company that I could get one of. So if I had a clear card that you overlaid onto things, I could get that one card made in it was like a clear business card essentially. So I could get a billion of them made and then just add them to a game, and then they behave a certain way in the game, and You could even get a couple different ones, but with business cards or anything like that, you're ordering one design and a ton of them.
Right.
So yeah, it's possible, but it's,
interesting.
It needs to have a lot of use for one card.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I have, which it's very similar, and especially from the high budget side, was I thought of a literal like water spillover, and I was trying to think of like how you could build this like town, and you've got this massive storm that's coming, and the water is going to get poured on top of this plastic town that's like encased in some sort of like, not like a bowl, but like almost like a pan, so it comes up on the sides, but it's like rectangular, like a game board. So you got this game board, and then in there you're manipulating things with height, and you're manipulating things with like just the way like mountains are going to go, and the way that all of this stuff's going to happen, and then you're going to drop water from the top. And I wanted to see like how you build it, what survives, and then also what thrives when the water does come in, because you could have these little ecosystems that are coming, that are getting built, and like that are like it would have to be this long-term thing and not like the storm of I wrote the storm of the millennium, but it could just be a regular storm, and like you're prepping for the storm, you're raising things up, but you don't know which, like the unknown is just either how much it's going to have, how much it's going to storm, or where it's going to come from, and you have to have some sort of predictions and weather report to go off of. It can't just be completely random. But
I mean, yeah, that sounds really intense. It's like you're sculpting a Fireball Island board.
That was the comparison. It was Fireball Island, but the water's rising, essentially.
Wow. Yeah, good luck with that. I mean, that kind of thing isn't completely out of style anymore. I'm looking at a recent Board Game Geek news where Ravensburger is publishing a game called Cool Runnings, and it has players with ice cubes in their player pawns, moving them around, and you douse them with water as you move from space to space. And so like Flip the Table had that episode where it was that ice game that's just ridiculous, where you dump them in like a sauna and all that kind of stuff. And so like I guess there still are publishers that are willing to take that risk, but like looking at the components, it doesn't look like they're specifically like plastic or anything like that.
Yeah, and I was trying to think, like, even plastic can get a little funky when it's wet. Like, it has to be certain types of plastic. You could prototype with Lego. Nothing really can happen to Lego when it gets wet.
Right.
And it builds upwards nicely. So.
Yeah.
And then you have this really awesome Lego prototype that costs like $400, and you can never get it made.
Yeah, that's real. Marketable.
I played Jay Treat used to have a Lego, a game that was made. It was Escape from, I can't remember the name. It was like a ship, and the ship was like every piece of the ship, every room was, you could twist them and turn them and connect them together, and it was all this. The first time I played it was just tiles, but the second time was this intricate Lego thing that had to cost them $100.
Yeah, I wonder, like, how do games like TikTok Woodman or something like that? How do you prototype a game like that? Because that is really impressive.
Yeah, it's real wood. You cut it out of wood. But I don't know. There's the thought of like Fireball Island, but water was kind of my idea. I had other stupid ideas. I wrote like audio spillover. Like audio spillover is really interesting when there's like, I was just at a concert last night and you could hear it across the city. Like you can't stop audio spillover. So what can you do? You can embrace it and just joining in on it and they were like making little concerts in between or taking advantage of the noise and going and robbing a place. I was just trying to think of audio spillover as like a really weird one that just, you cannot stop it unless you like go indoors or protect yourself. But you can't, it's still continuing through the air.
All right. Sure.
I don't know. I wrote a bunch of weird notes. And then the other one was the same thing as, and this I actually liked, was instead of dropping actual water on something, you had water cubes, and it wasn't like ice cubes or anything. It was just like wooden cubes. And wooden cubes can kind of, sometimes they'll just fall flat and land, but depending on what they hit, they could kind of bounce around and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm more on board with that than
That's
than
much
something
more
that is
doable.
yeah, it's a much less destructive force. But I
True.
mean, like with legacy games, like water is just a big old legacy game, right?
It's true. Could you imagine you like set it to the side and wait?
Ugh.
It's just this like puddle.
Oh, that's you have to play with the same group over and over, but it's just this stagnant pool of water in your board game.
Yeah,
Gross.
That's one thing you don't want near your collection. So even putting it back in the box is a problem.
Oh, that sounds so gross. I can't imagine the storage hoops you have to jump through to make something like that work.
It's like a bag inside of a bag inside of a plastic box.
Ugh, and the box has to have like vents or something. Like, yeah, you either seal it away in itself or like make it really easy to dry off.
Well, I've already bailed on the idea because I'm sure the not even the age restrictions, but the health restrictions, like from the mold that's going to grow in your box. Wooden cubes it is.
Yes.
It's less fun.
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. That's all I got.
Yep.
All right, we'll do this next week.
Talk to you later.
See ya.